A new law after a fatal fire that killed two University of Cincinnati students off campus was supposed to protect anybody who rents in Cincinnati.
But, and here's a big but, a Fox 19 investigation found that many landlords may not be complying. So what's the city doing about it? Hagit Lamore joins us with the second part of her report.
You know, 60% of housing in Cincinnati is rental. That means most of our population should be covered by the law mandating photoelectric smoke alarms. The law says landlords have to file a form with the fire department when they install these new alarms. But our investigation shows the city has no idea how many landlords have complied. These University of Cincinnati students are on a mission.
I was wondering if I could take a look at your smoke detectors.
To see how many landlords have installed photoelectric alarms outside sleeping areas, as city code now requires.
Was one there.
In a spot check of 87 properties, they found fewer than 20% of landlords had complied with the law. That includes buildings with 12 or fewer units supposed to install by a year and a half ago, and larger complexes whose deadline is this week.
It was very preventable.
The law passed after Ann Garner lost her daughter Ellen in a fire off UC's campus. Ellen died of smoke inhalation. A photoelectric detector might have sounded the alarm in time to save her.
But it's almost like a seatbelt in a car. You gotta have the tools in place before the emergency happens.
The kind of smoke detector you have can make all the difference.
That's why city leaders, including P.G. Sittenfeld, passed a law 2 years ago that rental property owners now must inspect the required photoelectric alarms annually and when executing a new lease, and report their findings to the Cincinnati Fire Department.
Do you know how many rental properties in the UC area are in compliance?
No, ma'am, I do not.
District Fire Chief Fred Prather says his 800 firefighters don't have time to inspect the city's 88,000 rental units, but he couldn't explain why no one is tracking those required forms landlords are supposed to be filing with his department.
Do you know how many are in compliance?
Well, unfortunately, those records are not available to us at this time.
With no one tracking those forms, there's no way to know if the law is working at all, if tenants are getting the protection parents like Dean Dennis demanded after his daughter died in an off-campus fire at Ohio State.
It's very disappointing that there would not be a system in place for something as basic as fire safety.
Do you think the fire department needs to keep records of who is complying?
I think in an instance where there is a complaint, absolutely a record will be kept of that, and enforcement will be brought on those folks. Again,
but only if there's a complaint.
Like most code violations, this is complaint-driven.
Complaint-driven, meaning tenants have to report their landlords. Many tell us they won't do that.
I mean, landlords hold the one thing you need over your head, a place to live.
The parents who lost so much say leaving compliance up to tenants' complaints will only result in disaster.
It's a community responsibility. We shouldn't wait for somebody to die to address the problem.
The fire department and the city say they are working hard to get out the word to landlords, but our survey indicates 2 years later, many owners have not heard it.
So we're talking about $15. This thing can be $15.
Right.
And how many do you need in a dwelling?
One per sleeping area. Like if you're upstairs and all your bedrooms are in one area, just one. If they're split, maybe two.
And how many places did you find with nothing?
We found 5 to 6 places that had no smoke detectors at all. And unless the tenants report it, that means there's no repercussions to the landlords.
I think it's also important to note from your earlier piece, ionization smoke detectors do work, and it is recommended that you have one of each in your home.
Yeah, and you can have the ionization one right outside your kitchen. That way it doesn't go off every time you cook.
All right.
Which would happen at my house a lot.
Exactly.
Again, you did a nice job on that story, and I applaud the parents. Very, very brave in getting the word out.
They really are.
Yeah, good story.
Educate all of us.
It is. Mm-hmm.